That's some good shit. Welcome to another 31 Days of Horror 2014 update, dealing with one of the Toronto After Dark Film Festival movies. You have to excuse me, but I gotta enjoy this because it's not available in Canada. No, if you can see the top, it says limited edition. Why? Well, I don't know, but when I was a kid, we used to be able to eat this Frankenberry cereal and Count Chocula. I haven't found any Count Chocula yet. I'm guessing everybody ate it all. But there was still some Frankenberry on the shelf, so I couldn't pass it up. And I'm sure you wouldn't either. Very, very good. Got the marshmallows and these pink ghosty things, I guess. Man, you guys in the States, you got it good. Oh, so good. But back to the coverage of the festival. This time, it's the last day. And yeah, I'm essentially having breakfast for dinner. What are you gonna do? But this is the first film, 2 separate videos, and I'm covering Let Us Pray. It's a film by first-time director Brian O'Malley. And I think it was essentially first-time writer as well, but not Brian. Some other guy wrote it. So essentially 2 first-timers coming out and making this excuse me, film that out of the UK. And it was described by one of the programmers as a supernatural assault on Precinct 13. Say that 12 times fast. Or 13. And I can get where you can say that. I'm sorry, I gotta have another one. So good. But back to the movie. I can see where somebody might put that spin on the film because it does have a supernatural element to it, and it does take place in a police station. But really, it's more of a, you know, and I mean, much like Assault on Precinct 13, it is an ensemble piece. It is about the people who are in this police station. Yeah, I don't want to give you the wrong impression because it isn't Assault on Precinct 13. It's not that. It's very different, but it was still very enjoyable. Like I said, it's an ensemble piece. It's about the characters all involved, a small group of people essentially. Actors include a bunch of people you've never heard of who have either done practically nothing or it's been very, very small parts and stuff in British television shows and movies and shorts. There are a few actors of name, but the ones you wouldn't know include Hanna Stanbridge, Nial, I think it's pronounced Nial Greig Fulton, Jonathan Watson, Brian Vernel, and James McCreadie. And I only name them all because to not name them is a disservice to them, because everybody plays a part in this movie. Those you would know, don't get me wrong, there are people you might know, including a gentleman by the name of Douglas Russell, who, if you've seen a film well, he's been in a few things, but hopefully you've seen the film Valhalla Rising. He has a part in there, plays like the Christian King, I think is what his role's called. But it's definitely, if you're into art film and you like Vikings, definitely check out Valhalla Rising. Very, very different, but it's still enjoyable in my mind. There's Bryan Larkin is another guy in this film, and you might know him from, I covered, I think, the second movie in the series in my 31 Days of Horror, but that's Outpost 3, and I've seen this on the shelf at Walmart. Rise of the Spetsnaz. He was had a part in that. He also played in a film that I've never heard of, never seen, but really, really seems cool when I looked it up, called Skeleton Lake, but it's also known as the Battleground, which is something I really want to check out. But the two main people you would know, one is Pollyanna McIntosh, who, if you're any type of horror buff, was played the woman in Offspring, and also the woman in The Woman, you know, part of the same series. And yeah, so here she is playing a very, very different yet similar role, I guess. You know, not really, but I'm sure skills she used in The Woman come into play in this film as well. And the main person you're going to know, who is a slew of experience behind him, partly due because of his age, is a gentleman by the name of Liam Cunningham, who's played in, he had a part in Clash of the Titans, the remake, the third or fourth Mummy movie, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. He played in the live action remake of Blood the Last Vampire. Let's see where else. He was in Centurion. He was in First Night. You know, that movie with Sean Connery and Richard Gere. Yeah, he had a part in that. But you're gonna probably know him most from either Dog Soldiers, that British werewolf film. Awesome film. If you haven't seen it, look it up. He played Captain Ryan, I believe his name was. And then, yeah, for all of you Game of Thrones fans, this is probably where most of you know him from. Because he plays Davos Seaworth. And, yeah, so I just leave those guys to last because they're the people whose name you might recognize. But essentially everybody has a pretty big, at least a medium-sized role, if not a large role in it. What is the film about? Well, it's about, like I said, it takes place in a police station. So you have Constable Rachel, who's basically the Pollyanna's character, and she's the new well, not a new police officer, but a newcomer to this certain precinct, and it's in like rural Scotland, like it's out in the I wouldn't say the boonies because it's sort of in a town. It's a pretty decent town, but it's not often you know, like a one-horse town type thing, right? Like there's a population there. And she ends up picking up a teenager for essentially a hit and run she witnesses. She almost gets hit, but then another guy does get hit. But the victim that gets hit disappeared. So she runs this hit and run guy, and of course he's a teenager. He's not one to have had the holiest of holy lives, let's say. He is known to, you know, the regulars at this precinct, so they're not surprised when they see him. And she brings him in, and then, yeah, Liam Cunningham's character shows up at the police station, and soon things start going weird. Everybody starts getting locked up in the prison. Secrets start coming out. Who's who? How are they related? How are they interrelated? What have they done? Is there somebody? Is there a supernatural presence in the jail? The police start. They aren't exactly the goodiest. They're not goody two-shoes cops. They have a very bad past, and that starts coming to the front, and then they start turning on each other. Next thing you know, people, it's an all-out fight, good versus evil, or is it evil versus evil? Is it every man for himself? Climaxes, and people are dying, and yeah, it just has this. I don't want to give too much away, because part of finding it out is part of the finding it out is part of the fun. But let's just say there is a supernatural element to this story, and it is the reason. Well, it is part of the reason why things start going down the way they do. And yeah, it's a good looking film, like really good, polished. Could easily go to theaters. It probably will not go to theaters in North America because like I said, it's a British film. It may get a limited run over here, I don't know. But if you find Let Us Pray in your movie listings, on your video on demand, in your Netflix, whatever, check it out. It is a solid film. It's a solid. It's very, very fun to watch. I think the set design work on it was really, really well done. I think the story is really good. It's very interesting. It doesn't really break any new ground. We've seen stuff like this before, but at the same time, it's still entertaining. And the acting is bang on. Like, everybody plays their part really, really, really well. There isn't any real twists or turns, even though it's kind of there, but it's easy to figure out right off, pretty early on. Like I said, I could give more away, but I'm not going to. I don't want to ruin too much, even if I do think you can figure it out relatively early in the movie what's happening. And it's not really important. But again, why ruin some of the enjoyment? Right? Some of you might not get it at the beginning. It's okay. It's okay. It doesn't mean anything. Not everybody figures out the movie right away. And some people get it wrong. This is one of those movies where it's pretty easy. It's not complicated. It's really easy to follow. Things are pretty much laid out for you. The ambiguity that's in the film isn't as ambiguous as it probably thinks it is, which is why I think you can pretty much catch on to what's going on pretty early on in the film. But at the same time, if they just sort of gave it all away right off the bat and were very blunt about it and told you, it would see. I don't know. I don't think the film would seem as decent as it is. It would probably come off a little hokey. As it is, it does come off a little bit hokey, but the action is good. There's a lot of really good action. The effects are really good, and yeah, there's a lot of fire eventually. Give that away. That's sort of like the climax. So yeah, like I said, if you get a chance and you see Let Us Pray somewhere on whatever format you watch your movies, be it in theater, be it rentals, be it buying, be it on demand, be it streaming, whatever, check it out. It's not way up there, but it's definitely something that I think appeals to a wider audience, and is really well done. So it's not going to be a letdown. by me saying, you know, check it out. You'll probably come back to me and go, yeah, I enjoyed it. Wasn't anything special, but I still enjoyed it. And you know what? That's, I think, the worst you're going to find with Let Us Pray. Solid film, great cast, well done. Can't believe it was, you know, pulled off this well by first-time director and writers. So yeah, looking forward to what they do next. Don't always say that about first-timers. Often I cringe. Often I cringe at the thought that they may be actually doing more and getting money from people to do more. But not in this case. So yeah, I will give it a 1, 2, and 3, but you can't see that one. Thumbs up. I don't call it a thumb. Anyways, I'm gonna finish up my cereal. So until next video, take care, and have a good one.